What is the scariest thing you've ever seen while driving at night? I used to deliver pizza and often had deliveries right at midnight when we closed. One time, late at night, I'm driving back to the store through a small neighborhood. Up ahead I see something. It's perfectly spherical, bright, shiny thing, just hovering about 6 feet off the ground. Not moving at all. I pull up very slowly. Still doesn't move. Still can't comprehend what I'm looking at. Just this shiny hovering orb in the road at midnight. At this point my curiosity has overridden my fear. I'm the guy in the horror movie who dies first because I just gotta know. Either I die or I get a cool story, right? So I hop out of the car and slowly walk up to it. I'm right in front of it and still can't understand what I'm seeing. So I reach out and touch it. It's a balloon. One of those foil birthday balloons with the streetlights shining on it, making it look weird out of context in the middle of the night on an empty road. This is my favorite response because it feels like exactly how I would react. Yep. Had a few of these moments in my life where it's like for a moment my brain has temporarily disconnected all memories that would place the object, and I'm left in a state of complete childlike wonder. And then my brain comes back online, and all I can do is laugh. A 6-foot kangaroo standing in the middle of a pitch black road at 3 AM in the morning, missed it by a bee's dick. Fun fact, bees' dicks explode during sex. So does mine. Still intact then, huh? I slammed the brakes once because I saw a deer in my peripheral vision. Upon closer inspection, it was a mounted deer head on a stick in the middle of the woods. Slammed the gas after I realized that might have been a setup by game wardens to catch illegal poachers at night. What do? Sit somewhere and watch, or do they usually have cameras set up? In my state they sit hidden down the road. They got these mechanical deer things that look pretty real and they try to get people to shoot them and then they get arrested for poaching, I guess. Maybe not poaching, but they'll definitely seize your firearms and give you a hefty fine for shooting from a vehicle, which I believe is illegal in every state, but I could be wrong about that. Yes, you can't shoot within 50 yards of a road, and you can't shoot out of a vehicle. Double fine. I was on I-70 in Colorado going towards Utah, pulled over at a gas station at 8 PM. Fueling up, I noticed a couple of attractive women pumping gas. On the other side of the pump was the man in his late 40s, just staring at these young women without notice of anything else going on around him. I walk inside to go grab some food for the next few hours of driving. When I come out I see both the younger women's car and the older man's truck are gone. I decided to hang out at the gas station for the next hour to catch a little sleep before hitting the road again. After driving for a few hours, I was speeding heavy. I pull over at yet another gas station. The young women are there getting gas and eating some food on a picnic table. Looked like they had been there for a while. I didn't see any sign or the man in the truck, but can't say I was looking very hard for it. Well, here is where it got creepy as hell. Can't say I didn't stare at them a bit. I mean, they were good looking women. As I am watching them leave, I see in the next parking lot over some headlights turn on and it's the same man as before. He leaves when the women leave once again. Okay, that's a bit weird, but could just be a coincidence as there weren't many places to pull over. I leave a few minutes later and catch up to them. Now this guy is riding their ass with his high beams on. I decided to slow down and stay a distance behind the truck. 10 minutes or so later the women pull over once again to most likely get this guy off their ass. With a sign of relief the truck keeps going and I continue on my way. About 1 mile down the road the guy just pulls off to the side of the highway. So I pull off a mile or so down the road again. Sure enough, the women drive by and the guy is still following them. At this point we are out in the middle of nowhere and too many coincidences have happened. I called the cops to alert them and about 15 minutes the cops pulled the guy over. I could have just seen too many horror movies that started like this and overreacted, but you never know. Better safe than sorry. We appreciate you. A dead, butchered horse laying in the road. Someone had completely skinned and butchered a horse, took the choice pieces of meat, and just dumped it on the highway. I almost crashed into it. Where are you? Horse meat isn't much of a thing in North America. Southwest Louisiana, man. I lived way out in the woods at that time, 40 minutes from anything. Some of the people out there get pretty weird. Why am I even surprised to see it was Louisiana? Spooky shit happens in the bayou. Share. I was driving home late one night and was driving on a dark stretch of the highway. Suddenly a body was in front of me. I tried to swerve out of the way but it was too late. My bumper was hanging on the ground. The guy died. And I went to a nearby gas station not knowing what to do. Was 18. When the tow truck pulled my car up onto it, there were a bunch of blood and guts on the bottom. I couldn't get that image out of my head. Apparently a drunk driver with 5 DWIs had hit a guy on the motorcycle prior. For years after I had serious depression and thought about it every night before sleep. A hitchhiker almost leaping out in front of my car on a dark forest road late at night. The woman literally popped out of nowhere. Had to drift into the oncoming lane. Luckily there was no one else and painted median there. Read a police report that she ended up getting hit minutes after I drove by. She was intoxicated and running from the police. Pretty fucking creepy. I hope she's alright. I can't imagine what the driver that hit her was thinking. Had a similar thing, but it was a suicide attempt. He put his shirt over his head so he couldn't see and jumped out in front of our car. We missed him by inches. Also we were young, dumb and drunk. We would have been jailed for years I'm sure. Having someone jump in front of my car is one of my greatest fears. Anytime there's someone walking along the side of the road I get tense and watch them like a hawk. The psychological stress something like that would bring is unimaginable for me. Not to mention the potential of getting in legal trouble if the law found you at any sort of fault. That happens to me except with dogs instead. I'm terrified that a dog will suddenly run out into the road in front of my car. Other animals as well. I just have encountered more situations with dogs. Driving to work at 4:30 AM and seeing a cyclist with his head split open and brains on the road. My friend and I were walking home at about 2 AM one night about 15 years ago. We see this car going in the opposite direction, clearly going way past the speed limit. As he's passing us, we see him go up on the curb and hit someone walking on the opposite sidewalk, decapitating them. This was before we had cell phones and everything was closed because it was such a tiny town. We ran as fast as we could to the nearest house, about 15-20 minutes away, and banged on their door until they opened it so we could call the cops. I still see it in my sleep sometimes. Saw the large pickup truck hit a pedestrian which sent them flying about 20 feet forward. The truck then ran the person over and kept going. I was a teenager and didn't have a phone. I remember knocking on a random person's door for help, crying and yelling. I think the guy at the door probably thought someone was trying to murder me. While traveling east just outside Flagstaff, Arizona around midnight I was in the fast lane doing about 80 miles per hour. There was a bend in the road and you could see the headlights of the westbound lanes filter in between the trees. It was funny because I thought the lights kinda looked like they were coming at me. Then they really were. I screamed obscenities and jerked the wheel just in time to let a speeding wrong way driver fly by me in the lane I was just in. After skidding to a stop in the shoulder I called the cops to report it. Could you describe the vehicle? Yes, it was a dark blur with headlights. Wait, did they literally go through the median filled with trees? How does that even happen? No, they must have gotten onto the interstate from an off-ramp. The lights from the other direction were dim and somewhat far away as the highway was divided by about 100 feet. When I saw the headlights coming for me I briefly thought it was from the other side of the highway but I realized just in time that it was a collision course. Similar thing happened to me in Corpus Christi. Driving a bunch of sleeping drunk people home at 2 AM about to get off on my exit and this big truck comes screaming up the off-ramp. I slammed the brakes and the truck swerved, slammed into the concrete barrier, then drove off down the highway in the wrong direction. Talking to the cops was tough with a bunch of scared drunks freaking out in the back. A lonely abandoned shack with a bunch of arrows pointing to it, saying come in. Either these types of traps only exist in cartoons. With a bowl of seeds labeled free bird food C, no one really notices a big boulder over the bowl. Meep meep. That's something you gotta go back to during daytime. With 10 friends and rifles. I don't know if this is really scary, but it definitely freaked me out for a moment. Driving home from grad lab for a couple hours of sleep, about 4 in the morning, longish, time sensitive experiment, not dawn yet, still pitch black. Turn a corner, and suddenly, someone runs into the street right in front of my car and stops. I stop. I wait. They don't move. Cautiously, I try to drive around. They scream, run up and slam their hands on the hood of my car. With them so close, I realize they are totally naked and filthy. They stare at me for a moment, then proceeds to run in wide circles, kinda listing to one side then the other, in front of my car. After about a minute of this, he lists hard to one side, far enough I felt safe quickly driving around them, very wide, on the other side that was now open. Meth man. The superhero we don't need and the one we didn't ask for. Meth man. Faster than a speeding cop. More awake than anyone else at 3:48 AM. Meth man. Help. Someone has run off with my purse. Meth man grabs the purse from the thief and continues running off at twice the speed. Meth man. Frogs. Fucking. Everywhere. Like hundreds of frogs all over the road. Damn it Moses. Damn it Kermit. Ugh, this happened to me one summer. I worked at a factory out in the boonies. One road leading out there had a pond on one side and a marshy, scummy wetland on the other side. One night I was heading in and the whole road was a carpet of peepers. I had frog guts coating the underside of my car. Stank like crazy when my shift was off. Replaced the muffler around Christmas and there was still frog legs stuck under there. I was following a grey Toyota Tundra in a massive blizzard through Montana on McDonald Pass. He was going pretty quick most of the way but must have been unfamiliar with how steep the final few miles are. He got away from me as I slowed down to about 35. Not 5 minutes later I passed his tire marks in the fresh snow that went off the side of the mountain. Pulled over and looked down to see his truck upside down and on fire about 300 yards down. Called 911. He didn't die but was burnt up pretty bad. Sad and scary, and don't go 50 in the snow just because you have a truck or 4WD. I've heard it said before, but I'll say it again. 4-wheel drive isn't 4-wheel stop. More weight may mean more traction, but also means more inertia. Dad was driving at night, and I was looking out the window and saw 2 red pinpricks in the cornfield, and it followed us. I told my dad about it and he said, in the most calm, casual tone for this situation, "Those are cornfield demons. Stay in the car and you'll be okay." Cue me freaking the hell out when he got out of the car not too long after to check a tire before getting back in. I'm still not sure if that was an actual thing or if he was using a situation to his advantage to teach me to not do anything stupid like that at night. Either ways, it worked, and I still have no idea what those 2 pinpricks were. Your dad is epic. He used to tell stories like that all the time to teach me to stay out of places I shouldn't belong. Lol. I guess he figured simply telling me no wouldn't suffice. One of the other stories he told was about this native named Cottonmouth, who was a great warrior who dipped his arrows in cottonmouth venom, hence his name, and one day he snapped and went on a mass murder spree, until someone took him out with one of his own arrows. He said that now if you're caught in the woods alone, if you hear hoofbeats, Cottonmouth is coming to get ya. Living in an area where people rode horses plus deer, I believe this 100% the one time I strayed too far while playing, and zoop. Back in the yard I went. A great warrior who dipped his venom in Cottonmouth venom. Yo Cottonmouth, I heard you liked venom, so we dipped your venom in venom. I got off on my exit, and the whole road was covered in blood. I put on my brights and saw the bisected body of a large animal. It just made me so sad. This is like a weekly occurrence on MI highways. It terrified me. I have never seen a large animal torn in half. Yeah, it's not pretty. I always worry for the car that hit it though. Hitting a deer at highway speeds can do major damage to the car and to the people inside. My great uncle was killed by hitting a horse that was in the middle of the road. It cut the horse in half and one half came through the windshield. Stories like these always freak me out. Parents of a friend of mine hit a Canadian goose. Those suckers can be huge. completely totaled their windshield, couple huge dents in the front of the car. And it didn't immediately die, so they got to listen to it honking in pain while it flailed around trying to get up. My friend's dad said he wanted to hit it with the tire iron and put it out of its misery, but he was too nervous to get close. They called Conservation and Wildlife while waiting for the tow truck, and they sent someone to collect it. A closed Waffle House. Dear God. I'm calling bullshit. The only people to have seen a closed Waffle House are hurricane survivors and the undead. Hurricane survivors haven't even seen it. When a disaster is coming, Waffle House sends their regular employees to evacuation, unless they just want to stay, and a team of corporate managers come in and run the store. They'll order a big truck of supplies to come right before the storm hits. They bring down the Waffle House catering truck, generators, and disaster supplies. If the store gets too damaged to run, they move everything to the catering truck and serve out of that. They'll shut down the other area stores, but one store or the catering truck is always running to feed emergency services and survivors. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think they charge anything during these situations. It's actually a metric we use in evaluating how hard an area was hit by a disaster, called the Waffle House Index. There are 3 levels: green, full menu served; yellow, limited menu items; egg due to power outage; red, closed. If it is red, things are surely colossally fucked. For those interested, here is a link to a Wikipedia article about it. I was fetching someone from his workplace. Had to go through some fields, and some parts of the road were dark. I saw a thin, long object wiggling at an upright position at the side of the road in front of me. Totally freaked me out. I thought I was finally experiencing something extraordinary. As I got closer, I realized it was a tail of a cow. It must have escaped from some field and was hanging around at the side of the road. The cow itself was black, the tail slightly lighter in color. That's why I only saw the tail moving first without seeing the whole cow first. Oh my. Yes dear, that's just old Bessie's bottom, not a ghost worm. Killer clown on the side of a deserted country road during the 2016 clownpocalypse. I think I cried. Why was a clownpocalypse a thing? Why would someone go around with a knife and a clown costume at night? Why? I remember hearing a rumor that it was supposed to be viral marketing for the upcoming IT movie, but some idiots played along and took it too far. Why too far? People were shot over that. An elementary school in my town went on lockdown for hours because a kid at recess apparently claimed to see a clown in the tree line at the edge of the school's field. Thank God that didn't last long. NGL, the kid was probably full of it. Yo, fuck this multiplication drill, I got an idea. I was a very young woman driving home after clubbing, about 2 AM through Hollywood. I was pulling up to a stop sign on Cahoonga, about 3 blocks from Hollywood Boulevard, when a bunch of guys begin to casually stroll onto the crosswalk, coming from both sides. I hit the gas and ran the stop sign without even thinking. They cursed and ran after me, but those boys were ready to jack me. My instincts took over before I even realized what was happening. When I was a kid in the 1960s, we lived near Trenton. There was still downtown shopping then. My friend's mom went downtown with her 3 kids to buy clothes. On the way home, while she was stopped at a red light, a big guy stepped off the curb, walked right up to her door, and yanked it open. She didn't know if his intentions were robbery, rape, or carjacking, but she didn't stop to think about it. She punched the gas pedal and the Riviera's big V8 lit up the tires. Off they went, with the guy still hanging on the open door, cursing and screaming at her to stop. She went through 3 red lights before she slammed on the brakes. He fell to the pavement, hard, and then she gunned it again. I'm pretty sure she didn't go back to Trenton stores again. That's why I always drive with my doors locked. I dropped my GF off the night we saw the Mothman Prophecies. It wasn't a super scary movie, but it had some scares. I take the interstate home. On the way, there is a curve where there aren't any lights. Just a dark stretch of interstate. As I came around the bend, there was a guy in a black trench coat walking along the side of the road. As it was about 3 AM, I guess I started him. So, when my headlights hit him, he whipped around and I swear he stared me right in the eyes. My heart jumped into my throat. The whole event lasted maybe 2 seconds tops, but it had my heart racing. Not paranormal, but definitely scary for me. I picture him whipping around like that old dramatic chipmunk meme. That movie was filmed in my hometown, and I drive across the bridge that collapses in it every day. I refuse to watch it. Oh, I've got the perfect thing. Driving home one night from my fiance's house. Normal night on the Florida highway. It's pretty dark, not too many lights, cruising at around 75 headed over a slight hill, just big enough that you can't see the other side. Get to the top and start making my way down the hill, and very suddenly in my headlight view I get a giant construction vehicle with all of its lights turned off, and parked in the left lane of the highway. I really, seriously, pray to God that no one hit that parked construction vehicle. It was one of the ones that digs up dirt, I think, on the highway that day. I very, very narrowly avoided smacking right into the back of that thing. I don't know how the Cherokee I was driving at the time handled the sharp turn I made into the right lane to avoid the vehicle. Needless to say, I was very nearly dead. Immediately called Florida Highway Patrol and told them about it. I hope they got to it before someone got hurt, and I really hope someone at that construction company lost their job. Because they could have killed multiple people. Normal night on the Florida highway. Terrifying. There are no normal nights on the Florida highway.
In this little shop of horrors, that's how we get down. Yeah, enter, the projects on the prairie, scary. Greet you at the gate with Bloody Marys. Blood, a rail full of blood. Back to the cemetery, get more blood. Standing on the grave, drinking blood, smoking bones. We seen a crew of ghouls running by with stolen tombstones. With Hell's Angels on the chase, they lost the bust a black skull. Want your embrace, they tie you up in chains and they stomp on your face. They go to purgatory and they beat the fucking case. I look around, mad.